family dinner, my sister leaned back, smiling as she delivered the line she'd been saving all night. "You'll never own property." Dad nodded, pleased. "Stick to renting forever." Everyone watched me, waiting for the embarrassment to land, waiting for the crack in my voice or the burn in my eyes. I gave them neither. I just breathed in slowly, set my fork down and said, "You're probably right." But while the room relaxed, thinking the moment was over, something sharper settled inside me. Because the next morning, before anyone woke up, I made a single call, one that would rewrite the entire story they thought they controlled. My name is Aurora, and for as long as I can remember, my family has measured success by square footage, mortgage rates, and how loudly someone could brag about renovations over dinner. Before I continue the story, tell me first, where did you hear this from? Write it in the comments, because what happens next, most people won't believe. I grew up learning to take up as little space as possible in conversations that never seemed meant for me. Selena was always the shining star, straight A student, perfect resume, the daughter who had her life together. When she bought her house in her late 20s, my parents treated it like a family trophy, polished at every gathering. I never corrected their assumptions about me. Why would I? They had already written the script. I was the daughter who liked renting, the one who wasn't built for the stress of ownership. The quiet child who must have been struggling but was too polite to admit it. They never asked about my work beyond a half-interested "how's that consulting thing going?" They didn't know. It wasn't consulting at all. It was acquisitions, tenant screening, renovation, budgeting, cash flow projections, things they never imagined I was capable of. I didn't hide it out of fear. I hid it because their applause was always reserved for the loudest person in the room, and I had no interest in performing. 2 years ago, on a cold night in late fall, my phone rang with Selena's name. Her voice was shaking before I even said hello. She'd lost her job, and the mortgage, $3,000 a month, was swallowing her alive. "Please," she whispered, "don't tell Mom and Dad, they can't know I failed. I'll pay you back as soon as I'm on my feet." I heard the terror in her breath, and for a moment she wasn't the golden child. She was just my sister, scared of falling off the pedestal everyone else built for her. So I helped. 1 month, then 3, then 6. By the end of the first year, the payments had become automatic, withdrawn quietly from my business account, unnoticed by anyone but me. She found a new job eventually, but the salary was lower, and the lifestyle she clung to didn't shrink with it. The house, the upgrades, the image, it all depended on money. She didn't have, and pride she refused to let go of. Meanwhile, I kept expanding my portfolio, buying a duplex near the river, a triplex downtown, a few single-family homes in steady neighborhoods. 17 properties in total, each one quietly paying for itself and then some. I lived simply, dressed simply, and stayed silent, not because I lacked ambition, but because noise never built anything worth keeping. But last night at that dinner table, when Selena laughed and announced my supposed limitations to the entire family, something shifted. It wasn't the insult itself, it was the confidence behind it. The certainty that I would always stay small so she could stay big. She had no idea how wrong she was. The morning after that dinner felt eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that settles after a storm. Heavy, expectant, almost waiting for you to decide whether you will rebuild or let the wreckage sit. I made coffee, opened the blinds of my small 1-bedroom apartment, and let the cold light spill across the hardwood floor. For a moment I just stood there breathing, letting the memory of last night replay in sharp, humiliating flashes. Selena's laugh, Dad's nod, the eyes around the table checking my face for cracks. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message from Selena lit up the screen. A photo of her kitchen, new backsplash installed, followed by another line that made my stomach drop. Thinking about upgrading the master bathroom next. Might as well keep building equity. Equity, the word hit me harder than the insult. She was talking about equity using money that wasn't hers. Money I had been quietly transferring every month for 2 years. Money she used to polish a life built on a crumbling foundation. I stared at the photo. Gleaming tile, warm under cabinet lights, and felt a realization settle over me like cold steel. I had helped her survive, yes, but I had also allowed her to perform, allowed her to shine while I stood behind the curtain holding up the set pieces. Not anymore. I opened my laptop, pulled up the dashboard for my rental properties and scrolled through the numbers. 17 properties, occupancy steady, income climbing, months of renovations and late-night planning sessions had brought me here. Quiet success, quiet control, quiet power. I had spent years living beneath my means, while Selena lived far above hers, and somehow the world believed she was the responsible one. The hypocrisy. Strung but not as much as my own silence, I had let it happen. The phone was still buzzing, another message from Selena. Bathroom reno might be pricey, but it'll add a ton of value. Totally worth it. I didn't respond. Instead, I tapped Janet's contact. She answered on the second ring, warm as always. Morning, Aurora. What's up? I sat down at my kitchen table, the wood cool under my palms. I need to make a change, I said. My voice didn't shake. Stop accepting her rent payments. Effective next month. A brief pause, soft but loaded. You sure? I'm sure. All right, I'll update everything on my end. When the call ended, I kept my hands on the table, letting the stillness settle. The decision felt like an anchor dropping, heavy, irrevocable but necessary. 2 years of support, 2 years of secrecy, 2 years of letting my sister and my entire family believe a version of me that had never been true. It was time for the truth to catch up. I didn't know exactly how my decision would play out, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Selena was about to feel the ground shift beneath her feet. Selena didn't notice the missing payment right away. She never did. She was used to life feeling smooth, predictable, money appearing exactly when she needed it. Safety nets catching her before she even realized she was falling. But 3 days later, just past noon, my phone lit up with her name. I already knew what the call was about before I answered. Aurora. Her voice trembled just slightly. Hey, something weird happened with my mortgage payment. The transfer didn't go through. Did your bank glitch or something? I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch just long enough for the truth to breathe between us. No, I said there wasn't a glitch. A sharp inhale. Okay, so is it delayed? Should I expect it tonight or tomorrow? No, it's not coming. The quiet on the other end wasn't quiet at all. It was panic trapped in a thin shell of pride. What do you mean it's not coming? She whispered. I've supported you for 2 years, I said evenly. 24 months of payments. That ends now. Her composure cracked immediately. Aurora, you can't do this. I can't afford the full mortgage right now. I told you I just needed a little more time. You said that a year ago that was different. Her voice spiked, then wavered. I'm getting a promotion soon, and the bathroom renovation will raise the property value. I just need you to be patient. Patient. The word tasted bitter. Selena, I said quietly, I'm done keeping you afloat while you pretend you're standing on your own. There was a small, furious exhale. Half disbelief, half disgust. So what? You're punishing me because of what I said at dinner. You're being dramatic. You know I didn't mean it like that. You meant every word. She went silent again. The truth had nowhere to hide. But why now? She finally asked, voice cracking. Why would you choose right now to pull the rug out from under me? Because last night, for the first time, I saw the situation. Clearly, my silence had turned into permission. My support had turned into entitlement. And my care had turned into a shield she hid behind while laughing at me across a dinner table. But I didn't say any of that. I simply answered because it's time. Selena's breathing grew uneven. I can't lose the house, Aurora. I'll fall apart if they find out I couldn't keep up. Mom and Dad will. This is your responsibility, I interrupted softly. Not mine. She began pleading, then fast. Messy, emotional promises to cut spending, to find higher paying work to pay me back someday. They all sounded painfully familiar, recycled from 2 years of delays. I'm not your solution anymore, I said. You need to figure out what living within your means actually looks like. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she hung up without saying goodbye. 2 hours later, a new text appeared on my screen. I'm calling a family meeting tonight. The words glowed like a warning, but I didn't feel fear. I felt the truth taking its first full breath. The living room looked smaller than usual when I walked in that night, as if the walls themselves were bracing for what was coming. Mom sat on the sofa, wringing her hands. Dad stood near the window, stiff-backed, jaw set tight. Uncle Mason hovered by the doorway like he wanted a front-row seat to the spectacle. And Selena. She stood in the center of the room, eyes red, makeup smudged, trying to look composed but failing at every breath. She didn't wait for me to sit. Tell them, she said, voice thin and sharp. Mom frowned. Tell us what? Selena swallowed hard, her throat bobbing. I can't afford my house payments. Mom blinked, confused. Dad's eyebrows twitched, not quite disbelief but not far from it either. I didn't say a word. Selena continued, voice cracking. I haven't been able to for 2 years. A long silence. Then Mason coughed. 2 years. Her eyes darted to me, then away. Aurora's been helping me. Dad straightened. Helping you how? Another shaky breath. She's been paying my mortgage. Mom let out a small gasp, her hand flying to her chest. Dad stared at Selena like she had just confessed to burning the house down. 3,000 a month, he muttered, every month. Yes, Selena whispered. All eyes turned to me. Shock, confusion, embarrassment swirling into one heavy silence. Dad finally managed, but Aurora rents. I barely what I asked. My voice calm, steady. Barely manage my life, barely stay afloat. Barely understand money. His face flushed a deep red. I reached into my bag and pulled out a slim folder. The same summary Janet prepared for situations like this. I laid it gently on the coffee table and slid it forward. You might want to look at this before you finish that sentence. Dad hesitated, then picked it up. As he read, the transformation on his face was almost cinematic: confusion, disbelief, then a stunned stillness. He looked at Mom, then back at the paper. 17 properties, he whispered. Mom leaned in to read over his shoulder. Rental income, market value, these numbers. Her voice trailed off. Uncle Mason's eyes widened. This says your portfolio is worth around 4 million. Dad lowered the paper slowly. Aurora, is this real? It's accurate, I said simply. I've been managing my own investment properties for years. The room sank into another silence, this time heavier, denser. Selina couldn't look at anyone. Her breath trembled as she wiped under her eyes. You never said anything, Mom whispered. You never asked, I replied. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked smaller, somehow less sure of the world he had built inside his head. All this time, we thought. I know what you thought, I said, and I didn't correct you. That was my choice. Selina finally raised her head. I didn't want anyone to know I was struggling, she said. I couldn't handle the idea of being less. Her voice cracked at the last word, so I let Aurora help me, and I told myself it was temporary, but then renovations, repairs, everything got more expensive, and you just pretended everything was fine. I finished for her. She nodded, tears spilling over. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to lose the life I worked for. You didn't work for it alone, I said softly, and that's the problem. Dad stepped forward, guilt staining his expression. Aurora, we've been unfair to you. Yes, I said, not unkindly. You have. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you tell us you were successful? Why hide something so wonderful? Because I didn't need applause to know my worth, I answered. But I do need boundaries, and I should have set them sooner. Selina looked at me desperately. So what happens now? Can you please keep helping until I'm promoted? I'll figure the rest out, I swear. No, I said, not anymore. Her face crumpled. Aurora, please, I love you, I said gently. But I'm not financing a lifestyle you can't afford. You have 30 days to decide what to do with the house. Sell it, refinance, downsize, but it's yours to handle, not mine. She shook her head, tears falling freely now. They'll think I failed. Dad spoke before I could. You didn't fail because you needed help. You failed because you hid it and pretended you were better than the person helping you. Selina flinched as if the words hit her physically. Mom moved closer, placing a hand on her arm. Sweetheart, you don't have to impress us, you just have to be honest. But I wasn't. Selina whispered. Not for 2 years. And now, I said gently, you get to be. The room softened even in its tension. The truth had rewired everything. Every assumption, every judgment, every pedestal. For the first time in years, no one was pretending. Dad looked at me, voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. Aurora, I owe you an apology, a real one, I know, I said, but we can get there. Slowly, Selina wiped her face, breathing shakily. I never meant to hurt you, I know, I said, but you did. And now we fix it by being real, all of us. Nobody moved for a long time. The air felt different, lighter in some places, heavier in others, but it was honest. And for the first time, that was enough. 30 days passed faster than any of us expected. Selina tried everything: budget sheets, side gigs, late-night job applications, but the numbers never aligned with the life she'd built on borrowed stability. When the house went on the market, she cried quietly while packing boxes. The kind of tears that come not from losing a home, but from facing truth without a shield. I helped her move, not with money, but with my hands, carrying lamps, tapping boxes, loading her car. She apologized again between breaths, softer this time. Real, I thought selling meant I failed, she said as we stood in her empty living room. But maybe failing was pretending I didn't need help. It's not failure, I told her. It's alignment. Your life matches your income now. That's stability. Her new condo was smaller, simpler, but peaceful in a way her old house never was. No crushing payments, no silent panic, no performance. My parents changed too. Dad started asking my opinion about refinancing their retirement cabin. Mom texted me articles about real estate trends, proud in a quieter way. No spotlight, just curiosity. Sunday dinners felt different, fewer comparisons, more conversation. For once, no one bragged or judged. They simply talked. Selina began rebuilding her finances, one honest step at a time. Our relationship, stripped of secrets and expectations, finally felt like sisterhood instead of obligation. And me, I felt lighter, like I had reclaimed space I didn't realize I'd given up. Looking back, I realized the real victory wasn't exposing the truth. It was learning that boundaries aren't walls, they're protection. My family sees me differently now, not because I proved anything, but because I finally stopped shrinking. Selena is rebuilding honestly this time, and we're closer for it. Peace feels different when it isn't bought with silence. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who are supposed to know you best, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments and subscribe for the next.